Just a climb to the top. Struggles, yeah, I got 'em. I'm walking down the streets.
Hello everyone and welcome to V8's Online's coverage of the Monday night V8 Supercar Strength of Field. And what a race we have here for you tonight. It's the penultimate round. The championship is still ever close between Dane Warren and Marl McMullen. And this is going to be a round where neither of them have a track knowledge advantage over the other. Because of course we had the V8 Scops absolutely brilliant race yesterday. If you haven't seen that already, be sure to check that stream out at the end of this stream. But these guys know the track combination very, very well. So it's going to be a very, very fiercely contested qualifying session, which we're currently in, as well as 30 laps here at Road Atlanta. But alongside me for tonight is Zach Hanlon, who has driven this combination, did his first ever V8 Scops weekend around Road Atlanta. Zach, how are the challenges around this circuit?
Well, Bo, there's not a corner around this circuit really that isn't challenging in this car. The undulations of the track and the constant need to be on power a lot of the time can cause the rear of the car to lose traction very, very easily. And it's a very fine, delicate balance throughout getting this car all the way to the end of this track. A lot of the traction zones are very difficult as well, and you can lose tenths just by mashing the loud pedal too quickly. But these guys, as you said, have a lot of practice from yesterday. Not necessarily everyone, but I suspect 99 to 95% of people who are in here have a lot of experience from yesterday. So they'll be using that knowledge to carry their performance through this race, and they'll know where they can kind of make overtakes and where they can't make overtakes. But we can already see at the moment, I'm just having a look at the qualifying times, and Dane Warren, man of the hour, the man in the lead of this championship right now, is at the top of that timing screen by 0.6 of a second. And considering that pretty much the entire top split at V8 Scops yesterday was covered by 6 or 7 tenths of a second, that's a very nice advantage to have right now.
Yeah, it is. And of course, we can't forget as well that a much cooler track here than we did see in V8 Scops. So a much more of an advantage there. But Marl McMullen does come through to complete yet another lap. And it's still a huge margin between him and Dane Warren. So for Marl McMullen, if he's going to wrestle this championship lead away from Dane Warren, he's got a big fight on his hands, because that is both laps done for Marl McMullen, and he only improved from a tenth from the first to the second lap. And that big gap still remains. But because everyone does have experience with this track, we see drivers popping up where they normally wouldn't. Case in point, Wayne Burke jumps to P2 and finds that gap in between Dane Warren and Marl McMullen. So we will see a slightly scrambled grid to what we normally see for officials, because of course, not all drivers put in a huge amount of work for officials. They do laps, but not all of them put the same commitment as they normally would, as Kurt Stenberg goes third. Because we had Scops here yesterday, we might see a very, very scrambled grid simply because the practice levels are so much higher this week.
Yeah, well, you can see some guys down the bottom there like Brian Borg and Jamie McKnight at the moment, and Craig Jones. Those are all guys who we see pretty consistently in this series. Wayne actually had a really good performance last week at Phillip Island, so not really too surprised to see him up there in P2 at the moment. He was dicing it up there with Richard Hampstead and Dane Warren towards the end of the race, so no surprises there. But Kurt Stenberg putting in a nice lap time relative to his other performances that we've seen in the Monday night series. But yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of these guys, like Luke Harvey, I mean, he's definitely not slow, but he's not someone that we see in these Monday night sessions all that often, and good to see him putting in a nice solid time. As we can see as well, while Dane does have a 10th gap to the rest of the field, essentially, from Wayne Burke to Thomas Hins is all covered by half a second, which is second through to 15th. So that's really encouraging. And we saw and I was involved in some really good racing yesterday here at this Road Atlanta track. It's a good track because there's a lot of different places you can overtake, a lot of outside lines that you can use to carry momentum through corners and gain an advantage on the inside into the next corner. So it'll be good to see a lot of these guys using their experience from yesterday and putting on a good show for us tonight.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. And of course, Road Atlanta, normally a track we would say there's not too many overtaking opportunities, maybe one or two. But in these V8 Supercars, we saw it yesterday that there are more than one opportunity around this circuit to really find an advantage over the car in front and get that pass done. So qualifying is just about done for all the drivers. Zach Baker's pulling in at the end of his 2 laps. He's still on track. And a few others on track as well, just trying to get a bit more experience on this very different track condition to what they have had all week leading up to Sunday. So for these guys at the moment, just trying to adjust to the new conditions. And of course, Dane Warren doing the best of that at the moment, half a second quicker than Wayne Burke. But we're going to get the grid up on screen for you guys now. And of course, Dane Warren will lead that grid by half a second over Wayne Burke, doing a fantastic job there for his team. Kurt the Stenberg is going to round out position number 3 just ahead of Marlon McMullen, who needs to find some positions if he's going to find this championship, which he so nearly got last season as well. Ethan Warren is going to come off the grid on the 3rd row in 5th place, and he's going to have Luke Harvey for company on that 3rd row of the grid, and he's going to hope that his race goes a whole heap better than it did yesterday. Scott Zlowski in 7th with Riley Blythe, another one looking for redemption. Corey Preston and Brett Loxton round out the top 10.
And then we've got Brady Myers in P11, Matt Morris in P12, Zach Baker in P13. Cooper Webster will be looking to push his way up through the field from 14th position. Thomas Hins rounds out your top 15, with Adam Hyland sharing the 8th row of the grid with him. And we've got Michael Hammond, someone who we don't see in this series too often, but is not a bad peddler in this car. We'll start from 17th position. Mario Vlasic starting out of 18th. We've got Blake Neck in 19th position. Daniel Williams in 20th, and we've got Greg Sharp, Brian Borg, Jamie McKnight, Jason Bentz, Craig Jones, Calvin Fuerdent, and Sergio Corredera finishing out the rest of your field. So a lot of quality drivers even in those last 7 cars. Greg Sharp, Brian Borg, Jamie McKnight, Jason Bentz, Craig Jones, all guys we've seen in this series doing very well. And an important thing to note as well is that Marlon McMullen has 2 cars between him and championship leader Dane Warren, and there's only 21 points separating those guys in the championship right now, so it'll be very important for him to get a move on very quickly.
Yep, but he does have 30 laps and a pit stop here today to find his way through the field. Of course, starting position number 4, not ideal when his championship rival is on pole position, but with a 57% fuel restriction for these V8 Supercars, they are going to have to take a pit stop at some point during the 30 laps. But that is one possible way for Marlon McMullen to find some more time on these rest of the drivers on the grid, as we're just getting the rest of the drivers just gridding up now. Of course, you can see the grid spreading all the way through to the final corner. So for those guys, they're going to have to deal with the final turn and then get into the first turn. And we're going to hope for a much cleaner start than we did see yesterday. But a lot of drivers taking their time to grid up. They're not in a hurry here today. Because, of course, with that fuel restriction, any little bit you can save now by just gridding up a little bit later than the others. That's already fuel in your pocket. All our main contenders are still on the grid. They're ready to go. But just waiting on 1 or 2 drivers at the back. And he grids up now. So we're going to get the lights coming up very, very shortly. As the drivers now get the clutches engaged. Soon the revs will rise and we will get 30 laps underway. It's green flag in the air and we are underway for 30 laps here at Road Atlanta, and already an absolutely brilliant start for McMullen. He's going to skide his way right through the field, already looking for second position at the moment. Dane Warren's going to lead into turn number 1. McMullen challenging for position number 2, but Wayne Burke looks to have got that covered right now, and looks like the rest of the field has just about got clean. They're going to go 3 wide into turn number 3. That's where we saw the incident yesterday, but they do much better this time around. So the field still clean. Dane Warren's going to lead from Wayne Burke and Marlon McMullen as the guys still try and spread their way through this S's section, which is so hard to go side by side with the high curbs. But fortunately, Zach, the entire 27-car grid has got through cleanly.
Yeah, nice job by everyone there. Riley Blythe just got pushed a little out wide on the exit of turn 3 there, and that kind of bunched up a couple of those guys in the mid-pack, but they managed to sort themselves out, and they've all made it through cleanly. Dane Warren already with a slight lead at the head of your field. Now, we have seen this week after week, Dane pulling a nice advantage, and the toe down the back straight here at Road Atlanta could give you severe time increase compared to your opponents. So very important for Dane to get a move on, as we just see Corey Preston having a little bit of a look on Scott Cisłowski. Corey not able to go through there. A couple of cars going too wide. We've got Mario Vlasic going wide with David Williams 2x2 through turns 11 and 12. Now it looks like Mario's got the inside line there, and he will prevail on that one. So nice move from him. But yeah, a lot of guys still jostling for position. Daniel Williams now being attacked by Brian Borg down the back of the pack, and Brian's going to make up another position. So Daniel Williams having a particularly poor couple of laps there, and Craig Jones fighting behind them too. But yeah, everyone getting through nice and cleanly, everyone falling in single file a little bit now, and these guys will get their heads down and show us what pace they've got.
Yep, absolutely. And what pace they've got is what is the question right now as the drivers work their way on the second position. As Corey Preston now going for a huge move up the inside of Scott Cisłowski, and Cisłowski hung out to dry on the outside at the moment, and this is going to compromise his run if he can't get on the power early, but does a very nice job, but still side by side with the Ford Falcon of Corey Preston. And at the moment, the Commodore's got a whole heap more horsepower, and it's got a train coming with it, because Brady Myers in the draft now of Cisłowski is going to try and take advantage of Corey Preston's slightly dodgy run, but Brady Myers might even think about getting the job done on Cisłowski as well, actually probably cost himself the position of Preston, who still goes around the outside trying to get the move done on the driver of Scott Cisłowski, and they're still going to go side by side. Don't go 3 wide, contact's made. Corey Preston spinning to the inside, he's going to rejoin, and he's just about avoided by the driver's fantastic avoidance from those guys. Corey Preston gets away undamaged, but a huge moment. So we'll get a CPR Cup racing replay up on screen for you now. But for Corey Preston, dumped down to 27th position.
Yeah, I think he got a little bit... he maybe could have given a little more room there. He obviously didn't get very good traction out of that final corner there, turn 10B, and he had guys all over him, and he just kind of closed the door there. I think that was on Brady Myers. So yeah, got to watch out when you're coming up through there, because it's blind and you're going around the corner. Cooper Webster, actually in avoidance of that accident, has hit the exit wall at turn 12, so he'll be back down in the field right now, carrying a little bit of damage. But another person who nearly got involved in that, Riley Blythe, managed to get through rather unscathed. He did have to let Brady kind of take the inside line there. He was trying to come through, but yeah, bit of an unfortunate incident there. I think Corey was doing a really fantastic job right up until that very moment. He possibly could have not shut the door so much, as we just see Brady Myers now attacking Scott Cisłowski. Brady's going to look to go for the over-under, but he may be hung out to dry now, as Riley Blythe's looking to get in under there, and they're going to go 2 wide, Brady Myers and Scott Cisłowski, but Brady's going to have to not quite make it. Riley Blythe's got a good run going up the inside, but Scott's going to cover him off, and they're going to go 2 wide into turn 1. Riley Blythe just tucking in behind there. Brady Myers leads them through. Scott Cisłowski has a bad line for this next corner here, and Riley Blythe is going to take advantage and slide up the inside. We might even see Brett Loxton taking advantage of this too, coming through the inside of the S's. That's hairy, and they're going to make it work. Scott Cisłowski pulls in ahead, and now we've got Matt Morris, Zach Baker, Adam Hyland, and Thomas Hinz on the back of this pack as well. So all of this fighting is really allowing a lot of guys to catch up here, and this is all basically all the way from 7th all the way through to 15th, 16th position right now. So really good to see this nice battle in the mid-pack heating up a little bit.
The flow here at Road Atlanta is so critical to lap time, and we see Scott Cisłowski get a little bit out of rhythm, and he's had issues, but not as many issues as Craig Jones, who is falling down the back of the field at the moment. A bit of an issue there for the CMR car, who goes for a huge move on the number 10 car of Brian Borg. An opportunity that wasn't really there, but also Borg just got a little bit sideways on entry. So the two kind of met in the middle, and a lot of damage to the CMR racing car, which is a huge shame for Craig Jones, a new team trying to really cut their teeth into sim racing. But unfortunately, just went for a move that wasn't quite there, but it wasn't really helped by Brian Borg having a bit of a loose entry to the corner.
Yeah, and these guys up ahead of him as well are battling quite a little bit. Corey Preston trying to make his way back through the pack, pulling a move down the inside of turn 1 on Greg Sharp. Nice clean move there. Carried a nice amount of corner speed through, and he'll be able to cover off up into turns 2 and 3. But Corey really going to have to work his way through this pack quickly. I don't think he's going to be able to get back inside the top 10 unless he plays some really nice strategy here. But we've seen Corey come from the back of the pack. He has had a lot of bad luck. Whether some of it's self-imposed or not, I guess, is hard to say. But he has been put in this position several times throughout this season. We have been seeing him work his way back as he's going to show the nose on Cooper Webster there, who's had some issues this race too. So both of those guys looking to push back up through the pack, and just looking further up the field, this train that's going from 7th all the way through to 15th is hotting up a little bit in the middle, with Matt Morris and Zach Baker getting very close to each other coming into the turn 10 chicane there. But those guys are flowing single line, and just having a look at all the timing that's going on now, I've noticed Dane Warren up in the lead has a 2.6 second advantage, and not far behind him, the battle for 2nd and 3rd, Marlon McMullen and Wayne Burke, is starting to heat up, with Wayne just dropping off the pace slightly at the moment, and Marlon just clawing his way back.
Dane Warren, at the moment, like you were saying there, Zach, of course, is the only car that's been in the 19s at the moment, and he's been doing it consistently. Not a single lap so far, I believe. Yeah, no, not a single lap he has done has been slower than a 1 minute 20. So Dane Warren really flying at the moment there, and Wayne Burke, second at the moment, only doing 20.3s, and he's slowly starting to come under pressure from McMullen, who is in that 3rd spot, showing the nose there into the braking zone of this really hard turn number 10. And at the moment, McMullen really trying to apply the pressure to Wayne Burke. Of course, McMullen knows there is a championship opportunity here. If he can get past Wayne Burke, it will keep the fight alive to the final rounds of the championship next week. But Wayne Burke doing a really strong job at the moment to hold that position, with Kurt Stenberg in 4th place at the moment. And a lot of good fights happening out on track, like you said, at the moment. But Matt Morris and Brett Loxton, definitely one of the closer ones at the moment, as those guys are still within just a 10th or 2 of each other. But this entire train is very, very tight, which is awesome to see. And that is just one of the things we do see often here at Road Atlanta, as now actually, just as I was about to turn away from him, a bit of a half look there for Matt Morris. He's dived to the inside of Brett Loxton.
Yeah, actually had a tiny bit of overlap on Brett Loxton there, so as he was coming up the hill. So he's looking very racy right now, and he's managed to pull away from Zach Baker. But we're just going to have a quick look at Craig Jones. He's had another issue coming up through turn 1. He's been trying to go down the inside of Brian Borg there. God, Brian hasn't been having much luck. Craig just carrying a little too much speed on entry there and sliding up into the side of Brian. So very unfortunate for Brian Borg there. Another one of these guys who's been having some poor luck the last couple of weeks, which is a shame because they've got some nice sponsorship on the car now. We're just jumping up to Thomas Hinds. He's going 2x2 with Adam Highland, Zach Baker there. So nice move there. And right behind him, Adam Highland and Blake Neck are going to go 2x2 through turn 12. And Blake Neck's going to carry that position as Adam Highland gets very, very taily on the exit there. We've got Michael Hammond and Adam now going at it into turn 1. Adam having a rough couple of laps here, dropping a couple of positions, and Michael, a very experienced driver, just tucking back in behind there and thinking about where he may be able to make a move somewhere else on this track. This section down here is not ideal for overtaking through the S's here, and the first real opportunity that you have to make an overtake is into turn 7, which is the final turn before the back straight. And the battle for second now heating up very heavily. Marlon McMullen is right behind Wayne Burke. Only 0.2 of a second separating these guys right now. Will we see Marlon just poke to the inside? We won't. He's just going to stay behind there for the moment, just tuck back in. And as I was saying, there are a few opportunities on this track to overtake, but you really rely on people making mistakes. And it is so easy to make a mistake here, as there are so many traction zones and you are turning so much while you are applying acceleration to the car. It's a very fine balance of how much steering input and how much throttle is too much and how much is too little. As these guys are now just climbing their way up through turn 3, doesn't look like Marlon's going to be doing anything drastic in the next couple of corners.
No, and whilst just out of shot there, we were focusing on the battle for second. Thomas Hinz gets the move done on Zach Baker, so Thomas finally gets that job done, so good job for him. But he's going to come under pressure now from the Fusion Sim Racing car just behind with their Amazon backing. I have to say, a really, really nice looking livery on that Commodore, but we will have to wait and see just how quick it is in the hands of that driver in the 3 car at the moment. But nonetheless, still a very good battle that we might have to keep an eye on, as Marlon McMullen now, he's got a fantastic run. This might be his one and only opportunity to get position number 2. He needs this for the championship if he's going to carry on to the final round next week. And of course, he's not going to have the easy way into this hard braking zone. He's going to have the outside. He might just about have the horsepower to do it even before the corner. Fantastic job there, but it's not done in this braking zone either, because Luke Harvey is having a bit of a shot here at his also TCR car, Kurt Stenberg. These two are having a bit of a fight, but you could also say they're not teammates. Of course, one is in the full TCR, one is one of the Rising Stars, and Luke Harvey trying to scare the Rising Star onto the grass, does a successful job on that, and that might be an easy move there for Luke Harvey, who now dives to the inside, had the speed, now has that fourth position.
Yeah, very nice job from Luke Harvey there. He applied a nice amount of pressure coming into turn 12, and that just shows you a little bit of, you know, the experience that comes with a lot of racing. You can put guys off by showing your nose a little bit, and they think that you might be coming through and you don't, and then you get a better run through the corner, and you can capitalize on that as you come out through the exit. So very nice job there by Luke Harvey. And yeah, I'm not sure with that move that Marlon made, whether Wayne may have backed out of that slightly, thought that I don't know if he thought third might be good enough for him, and he can just, you know, not worry about losing that position too much, because Marlon's going to be pushing, and he may just want to not get involved in an accident and get a good result. Especially considering, I suppose Wayne is a pretty highly numbered car in this field, so he would be trying to push for the best result possible, but maybe third's all he thinks he can get. And you can see as well that Marlon has put a little bit of a gap on there on Wayne just in the lap that he's gone by, but nothing compared to Dane Warren. Dane Warren now just dipping outside of the 19s in his laps at 20.2 that time round, but still significantly faster than Marlon and Wayne right behind him. But there's a couple of other battles which are starting to form as well. Riley Blythe looking a lot closer to Brady Myers than he has in previous laps, and Matt Morris, Brett Loxton getting close together. But this train as well, still 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, is still looking very, very healthy right now. But all these guys driving very smoothly, and that's something that's very important to do if you want to keep your positions. I know most of the positions that I made up in my race yesterday were purely just through faults of other drivers, people making mistakes while battling. So if one of these guys at the front of this pack for 15th makes a small mistake, they could easily see themselves shuffled right to the back very, very quickly. So but these guys doing a very good job at the moment to keep everything nice and smooth, keep everything on track.
Yeah, they are, but we are now over a third of the race distance now done, which means we are slowly beginning to get closer and closer to what I like to call the pit stop phase of the race. Middle part now, lap 10 to about lap 20, I would say, is when we're going to see a heavy majority of pit stops taking place. And of course, 30 laps now working lap number 12. These drivers are well and truly starting to get through their fuel tank, as it's very, very fuel hungry here, as Adam Hyland dives to the inside of Blake Neck into turn number 1, and those two are going to get very, very close to each other. Blake Neck having to use every millimeter of that exit curve to make sure he holds that position, but He's still got to fend off Adam Highland, who almost had the nose in there into turn number 3, but still nonetheless manages to keep that position. So good job there, but it has also tightened up the battle behind between Michael Hammond and Mario Vlasic. And Vlasic has been a driver who's been pulling off some very nice overtakes in this race. Just a couple laps ago, put on a very authoritative move there on Jason Bentz, just dove it to the inside and said, nope, I'm taking this position, and there's nothing you are going to do about it. So if you give Mario Vlasic even half a chance in this V8 Supercar, he will definitely take it. And with how close this group is, it's going to be very interesting. But we can focus our attention back to Thomas Hins, who's trying to get that move done on Brett Loxton, heading down this long straight, side by side. The Ford, plenty of horsepower in that car, not lacking at all. So who needs a braking zone? I'm going to get it done all on the straight, but the battle behind not quite over, as there's going to be the driver of Michael Hammond looking up the inside of Adam Highland. Can't do anything about it though. So that group just behind the Fusion Sim Racing car, still one of the closer ones to watch out for at the moment, as Brian Borg, actually the first car to dive into the pits now, but that unfortunately might be to retire. His car has been a little bit damaged over the course of the race, but nonetheless, we will start seeing pit stops soon. And Zach, where do you think these drivers are going to be trying to come into the pits? They're going to leave it as long as they can, or on a circuit which can be hard to pass in places, do you think they could try and undercut just a little bit?
Well, I think the undercut is very
Luke
important. Yeah, Luke Harvey's just had a big moment coming out of turn number 5, and it looks like he's done that all on his own. We'll get a cut price racing replay for you, and yeah, that is very unfortunate for Luke. It looks like he came in just a little too hot on the entry into corner number 5 there, and just had the rear coming around a little more than he would have wanted, and just bounced off that curb on the exit very awkwardly. It is a very bumpy exit, and there's a very uneven road on the other side of it. Very, very easy place to lose your grip there, and he has done so. So that's very unfortunate for our man who was sitting in 4th place. And McMullen, yes, McMullen has come into the pits as we see Luke Harvey just making his way back through Jamie McKnight. But we will, I think if he's pitted, I think we might see a couple of the top guys in the next couple of laps, and that could be just to cover off any strategy that, you know, Marlon may be able to pull off here compared to those guys. Usually we see the tyre drop off to be about half a second to 7/10 over the course of a stint. So if Marlon can get out, I mean, unless Dane decides not to pit for another, you know, 7 or 8 laps, and Marlon's going significantly quicker all the way around, I doubt that he'll be having anything to do with Dane. So I think Marlon could just be covering off any strategy from Wayne Burke here. So it will be good to see when Wayne comes back round the next time, as he's just coming into the final chicane now. So we'll see if Wayne Burke decides to pit. Dane Warren has not decided to pit on this occasion, and Wayne has not either. So both of those guys are going to continue circulating. Kurt Stenberg, however, is hitting the lane. Man in P4 and Ethan Warren P5, P6, P7. Riley Blythe and Brady Myers are both coming in as well. Those guys were very close throughout the pits, so there may be a change of hands for position number 7 if these guys, one of them gets a better pit stop than the other. And we've actually got a lot of cars in the lane now. Significant amount of people in our field. Matt Morris, Thomas Hins, Brett Loxton. We've also got Blake Neck, Michael Hammond, Jason Bentz, Daniel Williams, and Jamie McKnight all in the pit lane at the moment. And looks like Kurt Stenberg will be just ready to drop off the jacks now. I can hear him revving his engine. He's ready to go, and he pulls away. So he'll retain 3rd position for now, unless someone else has something to do with it. Riley Blythe coming out just ahead of Ethan Warren, who they're actually...
This isn't PG. This is not PG, but nonetheless,
yeah,
it's
that's
going
a
to be
bit awkward there.
It's going to be the position for Ethan Warren. So a good job from Ethan Warren.
Well, actually, Ethan was actually behind. Yeah, Ethan was behind in that. He almost lost 2 positions there. Ethan was in 5th, and Brady Myers and Riley Blythe were actually in 7th and 8th. So Ethan has lost a monumental amount of time in that pit stop, and it's unfortunate Riley Blythe didn't get out a little quicker.
this is going to be a worry for All-Star Motorsport because I'm looking at the times at the moment. Ethan Warren has the second slowest pit lane time at the pit stop time, which is 20.8. The only car slower than him is teammate Thomas Hinz on 22.7. And with Dane Warren in the pits now, he's stopping with both Wayne Burke as well. It's going to be very interesting because they cannot afford to stuff this pit stop for Dane Warren because if they do, McMullen, who is now still circulating with a 19.7 pit stop, is coming around the final corner now. Dane off the jacks. Looks like he'll get this race lead once again, but that could be a little bit more time in the advantage for Marlon McMullen. But again, it was a slow stop for All-Star Motorsport, 21.3 seconds. That is 1.6 seconds in the advantage of McMullen, and that, to your championship rival, you cannot just be throwing 1.6 seconds away.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot from Dane. I can think of at least 3 occasions. All those Donington and at Phillip Island as well, he had a very long stop, which caused him to, I think, lose 2 or 3 positions. And at Alton Park, he may have had a long stop as well. So, yeah, a lot of unfortunate happenings for Dane Warren when he comes into the pit lane. That might be something that he and his team have to work on to improve some procedure there, because it is rather uncommon to see one person consistently having pit stops that are 2 to 3 or even 4 seconds longer than some of their competitors. As most of the guys there were getting about 18.9 to about 20.5 seconds tops, so to be at least 2 seconds over that is fairly dramatic, and it's been happening week in, week out. So yeah, it's a very bizarre kind of story there on Dane Warren's side of the pits.
Yeah, and it has cost him a little bit because that lead was out to almost 5 seconds at one point, currently sitting at 3.6, so still got a little bit of a buffer back to the driver of Marlon McMullen, but still that is time lost where it's really not needed. And I did see a joke in the YouTube chat just a little bit before that the team can't run JRT because of Dane's Mac. It will implode if he tries to. But nonetheless, that is something these guys are going to have to get, working out, whether it be a spotter with JRT or something along the lines, because you cannot afford to be doing that. But nonetheless, most of the field, actually the entire field now, has been cleansed and everyone has done their pit stop. Brian Borg has done too, of course, with some damage to that car, unfortunately for him. But nonetheless, still a lot of movers and shakers, one of the biggest being Brady Myers, up 6 spots from his qualifying position, so fantastic for him. And the obvious biggest loser at the moment has been Luke Harvey, who is beginning to really challenge some of these guys, trying to get his time back. Next victim on the list for Luke Harvey will be Jamie McKnight, and he's going to dive it right to the inside and try and make light work of McKnight. But McKnight, a really well-improved driver over the last few seasons of this series, and of course he used to be a driver that would hang around the back. I'm sure he doesn't mind me saying this too much, but he would be around the back, just floating occasionally midfield. He turned into someone who can really compete on the off weeks, up the front with his guys. So McKnight, not an easy pass, but for Luke Harvey, a lot of speed, a lot of experience, and his next target is going to be the driver of Daniel Williams.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point you make about Jamie as well. I know he's probably a very busy man. I think I know what he does for a living, so maybe he hasn't been getting as much practice as he normally would have the last couple of days, because I don't know, we've seen him right up the top of the field, but the last 2 weeks he's been sitting down around P20 or the lower or the higher end of the teens, I guess, 19th, 18th. So and he's currently sitting in 21st position, so it'll be interesting to see if he can pull himself back, because he did get a top 10 back at Spa-Francorchamps earlier in the season. So definitely a lot of talent, maybe not enough practice in the last couple of days compared to some of these guys, but a lot of cars within very short time periods of each other. Got battles from 5th through 7th. We've got battles from 19th through the 22nd, and a lot of cars are kind of pairing up at the moment and forming little 2-man tow trains, it seems. We've got Blake Neck and Adam Hyland, who have formed a little train, and we've got Mario Vlasic and Michael Hammond, who have formed a little pair as well. And Zach Baker, Brett Loxton, and Matt Morris, Brett Loxton, Zach Baker, and Thomas Hinsor and me have made a little triple stack, and they're following each other through the final corner now. So interesting to see those guys pairing up. Maybe those guys being able to stay in the draft of the guys who are ahead of them is just keeping them on the tail a little more than at other races that we might have seen throughout the season this year.
Yeah, it certainly is, and at the moment, actually, that battle of Zach Baker and Thomas Hinz is very, very close. Hinzy looking in very audacious places to try and get a move done, but nonetheless, if Hinzy doesn't go for a move into 10A or even earlier, I'll be very surprised, as there is a lot of untapped speed in that All-Star Motorsports car. Of course, Hinzy now feeling very, very settled into that team. He doesn't feel like he's a newcomer anymore. Definitely feels like he's a part of the team and really beginning to love sim racing. There was a point, a few weeks ago, he was very down, not motivated to race. But, Thomas Hinz has had just a spark in his life or something, because all of a sudden he's come alive and really putting in some good results, having strong drives. And he's about to be position number 11 if he can carry the speed and be very late on the brakes. Of course, the driver of Zach Baker, not an easy driver to pass, but when he makes a bit of a mistake like that, it becomes all the easier, Zach.
Yeah, that's right. And, Thomas did a fantastic thing there by just showing the nose, even though he may not have been there completely. But we're just going to head up to the battle for 5th right now, which involves Brady Myers, Ethan Warren, and Riley Blythe. These guys are nose to tail as they fly through turn 3, down through turn 4, and coming down through the S's here. And these guys have been following each other the last couple of laps, but right now Riley Blythe and Ethan Warren have really closed up on the back of Brady, and Riley getting 2 cars worth of slipstream. He's in a nice position right now to possibly take them all 3 wide down into turn 10A, as Brady not getting the best exit out of that corner, but it's enough to hold them off for the time being. Ethan is right there though, and he's going to carry a very nice slipstream coming down into 10A here. I suspect it might be enough for him to at least show the nose, just like we saw Thomas Hinz do last time, as we see Brady going defensive, and that's just enough to cover off Ethan there and make him concede and go back to the line that is optimal for going through that corner. And Riley Blythe just not quite close enough to do anything there, but Marlon McMullen actually is taking a little bit of heat from Wayne Burke, who's closed up in the last couple of laps. Wayne been about 2 to 3 tenths a lap faster for the last lap or two, and that's gotten him right on the back of Marlon here. So another situation where we could see that slipstream come into effect if Wayne is able to carry enough momentum through turn 6 and 7 here and stay on the back of him, as he's very deep under brakes there, and that's going to cause him to run a little wide into turn 7, but he's actually managed to hold it together pretty well and gotten a nice exit coming out of turn 7 very straight. But I think this time around he's probably just a little bit far back. He may just come across the track a little and just say to Mullen, hey mate, I'm here, I'm coming for you, so you better watch out. But he did concede the position relatively easily when Marlon was coming past, so we will see if Wayne does decide to have a bit more of a go. And I'm just having a look at Brady Myers going defensive again on Ethan Warren. Ethan going to take it the long way around the outside, which will give him a preferred line as they touch a tiny bit coming into 10B. And Riley, oh God, Brady Myers
has gone around,
shuffled out. He didn't quite get turned around there, and Riley Blythe now hot on the heels of Ethan Warren, who's a little bit shaken possibly from that prior contact, and Riley's going to fire it up the inside. Much more preferred line. They're going to rub doors as they come out on the exit there. Riley has a nicer run into turn 3, but Ethan going to carry the speed up the hill and close the door and slide in front down for turn 4. And we might just get a little cut price racing replay for you of that incident down there at 10B and 10A. And we see Ethan coming around the outside there. Nice move. Brady just pinching him, coming across a little towards the apex as they're coming through there, and gets a little out of shape as there's a little bit of contact. They bump again, and that's where Brady, where he actually kind of lost it out on the curb there and sent himself into Ethan there. So, yeah, interesting little incident. I think that's kind of just racing a little bit, but Brady relatively lucky, and Riley Blythe is going to come around the outside, coming into 10A, nice and late on the brakes. We'll see if there's some contact here. Going too wide, he's got a nice amount of overlap, He's going to come up the hill. He's got nice traction. He's got the inside line, and Ethan Warren is going to be hung out to dry. Ethan can still cut back in here and get a nice run into turn one as we see Riley covering that inside line into turn one very heavily, as Ethan has done just that. He's going to go around the outside into turn one. What a great battle. But Riley Blythe has superior speed up the top of the hill, and they're not going to go too wide through there. So Riley Blythe, nice job on both of those moves, just keeping it cool while the two cars had an incident ahead of him, and then getting right up on the back of Ethan there and applying a nice amount of pressure. So very good, but he will have to defend from Ethan, who is not slow, and Ethan will have the toe this time round, and Ethan is very close to the back of Riley Blythe as they come through turn 6 and into turn 7. Ethan is right where he needs to be, and he's got nice traction coming out of the final corner. So he rides in the toe of Riley Blythe coming up into 10B as they clock close up to, I think, 270 kilometers an hour before they come up into this braking zone at turn 10. Riley Blythe not looking defensive. Ethan's going to stick the nose, but he does brake a little early, and Riley Blythe is going to hit that apex nicely and carry his corner speed, so not worried about any overtakes from Ethan for the next couple of corners. But yeah, fantastic little battle from those guys there the last couple of laps.
Yeah, I've got to say Riley's doing a lot better than he was in the GT3 at Bathurst at turn 2. Sorry Riley, I said I'd throw you under the bus, and I've done just that. But in the last few laps as well, just been keeping an eye on the McMullen and Burke battle. And Burke's been having stages where he does get right onto the bumper of McMullen and then falls back just a little bit. So even though the gap has just eked out just a little bit more at the moment, don't be surprised if that can be reeled in just a little bit more from Wayne Burke, who's just been ebbing and flowing, trying to get to the back of that West End Mazda PSS car. So a really good job from those guys, still trying to battle it out. Kurt Stenberg running in fourth all by himself at the moment, but then that really nice battle for position number 5 at the moment. So those guys are going to go at it one more time potentially, but they're not the only battle on track. Of course, there are others as well, including Hinsey and Brett Loxton who are going at it, Slowski and Morris, and Hammond and Corey Preston very close as well. And we'll see if Ethan Warren can do anything in the slipstream of Riley Blythe at the moment. I would say perhaps a little bit too far back right now, but we'll see how brave he's feeling into the braking zone. He's going to stay single file with Riley Blythe just behind. And the same can be said for Slowski and Matt Morris. They're going to stay the same. But one battle we are going to have to potentially look out for, depending on how they get a run, is this Hammond and Corey Preston battle. But Corey Preston not quite close enough once again.
Yeah, and something I'm just noticing further up the field from position 10 through to position 15, those two little groups that I was talking about earlier, Mario Vlasic and Blake Neck, who partnered up, they're actually catching up to the back of Adam Hyland and Zach Baker, who are partnered up, and they're catching Brett Loxton and Thomas Hinz, who are partnered up. So those little duos that we had going before are now turning into a large train, and it's starting to look, a lot less like a doubles tennis tournament and more like a train. Can't think of another analogy there for right now, but these guys will have some good racing in the next couple of laps.
Well done, Zach. Well done. But in the
thank you.
Just having a look at that train at the moment. Of course, those guys are very, very close at the moment. They're absolutely packed, and we'll see if any of them are willing to do anything down this very, very long straight. Of course, where traction is so critical to finding any kind of overtake. And at the moment, these guys still all very, very close. So we'll see what kind of horsepower they have. The slipstream, of course, could be very, very interesting, as Wayne Burke has gotten close to the back of McMullen at the moment. Still 4.8 laps if I want to be ultra precise, and so plenty of time for him left to play with. But can he stay there this time? So many times I've seen him just get to the back of McMullen, and then perhaps with the dirty air effect, or perhaps just having the disturbed air from the car, he's just not being able to hold it and get close enough and stick for a move down into the long straight and into the chicane. So for Marlon McMullen, doing a good job to hold on to P2 at the moment. But if he's going to get this championship with Dane Warren, he needs bad luck now, because Dane Warren has been so good once again, and McMullen hasn't had that cutting throat, absolute killer instinct he's once had. And, he's not quite at the level where he's going to be able to beat Dane Warren at the moment, if I'm going to be controversial. And, for Marlon McMullen right now, position 2 when Warren's winning races just isn't going to get him that championship. So for McMullen, for this last round. He needs to go hard. He needs to go full attack in practice and really make something happen, because right now, Wayne Burke in 3rd position, looking much, much stronger. And if Wayne Burke does get past, McMullen's hopes of the championship are practically gone unless pure bad luck does happen to Dane Warren, as he's once again out front with a convincing lead. But nonetheless, still lots of good battles happening on track at the moment. Kozlowski still under pressure from the driver of Matt Morris. These two very, very close and have been for a lot of the race. And they're going to keep it single file through the line. But nonetheless, still a lot of close drivers.
Yeah, and it's we're just getting a look at Jamie McKnight and Daniel Williams, who are going side by side down into turn 10. Jamie McKnight with the preferred line on the inside, but Daniel Williams holding it tough round the outside. He has the preferred line into turn 10B and up to 11 and 12. So nice for him there. I believe he actually overtook Jamie there. So very nice from Daniel. But I don't think what you're saying about Marlon is too controversial at all, Bo. I mean, you know, we come out here and we race and we show how good we are by putting down times on the track. And Marlon consistently this season hasn't been as quick as Dane when he's been here, which has been a lot of the broadcasted portion of this series. But prior to us starting the broadcasted races while we had the break earlier in the year, Dane Warren wasn't around as much and Marlon was picking up those early wins. So, you know, to grab that championship, you need to be consistently fast. You can't just be faster than a guy, you know, than everyone else other than one guy when he's not here, because that guy can turn up anytime. So I think Marlon does have to find some speed for the final round if he does have any hope, because he needs to win. He can't have Dane Warren win again, and realistically, he needs Dane Warren to lose badly. He doesn't want him to come 2nd or 3rd, and for Marlon to come 1st. He wants Dane to come 8th or 9th or 10th, and for him to come 1st. So, you know, you win championships by putting in strong, consistent results, and Marlon has been putting in strong, consistent results, but not the ones that really count, which are the wins. And you need to be on top if you're going to get them.
Yep, absolutely, and it's just not been working out for him this season. Of course, came very close a few seasons ago, but right now not working out for him, and it could be about to get a whole lot worse, because this is one of the closest I've seen Wayne Burke all race long, and with 2.5 laps to go, there is no better time than now for Wayne Burke to attack McMullen, and they're going to go side by side into the braking zone. And who's going to be later? It's actually going to be Wayne Burke, but he does have to deal with the outside, but he doesn't care. He's going to hold it. He's going to have the inside for the next one, but does he have the traction? McMullen doesn't. He's going to get sideways, and that's going to give Wayne Burke the inside. And there aren't many ways McMullen can come back from this. He can try and do an over-under, attack into turn 1, but he's just not going to be close enough, and Wayne Burke goes through onto P2. And this is the point for Marlon McMullen when things get desperate. There are 2 laps to go. If you know, Burke gets those 2nd place points and he doesn't, that could be the championship right here, right now. Because even if McMullen does win next week, you know, Warren won't need much more than a 5th or 6th place or so. So for McMullen, every place does count, as I'm struggling to get words out. But right now, Wayne Burke, you know, he's in the box seat. He's at a good pace. He's not looking like he's going to make a mistake anytime soon. This could be his 2nd place.
Yeah, I think it well could be. And yeah, I mean, I think that championship lead could be out to 50 or 60 points after the end of this race at Road Atlanta, and a 50 to 60 point deficit is much more difficult to pull back than a 10 or a 20 point deficit. The deficit at the moment is 21 points, so yeah, it's not looking good now, as we were just talking about Marlon needing to step up and needing to find some time, and he's lost some there to Wayne Burke, although I do have to say Wayne did pull a very nice move around the outside there. And one of the few chicanes where going around the outside is, you know, it works very, very well. But we're on the final lap now, and Marlon is very close, but not close enough to throw anything down the inside of Wayne Burke. And we'll just have a quick cut back to Scott Kozlowski back in P8 and P number 9. Bit of a battle with Matt Morris here. Yeah, tiny bit of contact. And Matt very, very close to the back of Scott's car there, almost touching paint. And Scott's going to have to go very defensive on the run into turn 1 here. Matt going to take a very nice line and cut down on the inside. That means he can be nice and straight up the hill and put the power all the way down. He's going to go for a very bold move down the inside at turn 3. Tip of the hat to you, Matt, for actually pulling that up, because a lot of people would have crashed. Unfortunately, he will not be able to grab that position off Scott Cieslewski, and he's got enough of a buffer now that it's not going to matter too much for him. And just having a look as well, the battle for Ethan Warren and Riley Blythe for 6th and 5th is hotting up immensely. And Marlon McMullen as well in P3 is going up the inside of Wayne Burke at the very final chicane. He locks up the rear tyres, and that's going to let Wayne get through, but he's got very good traction, and they touch.
They touch indeed, and that's going to be the advantage for Wayne Burke. Warren's already won the race. He's across the checkered line. And unfortunately for Marlon McMullen, he tried everything he could, but it's going to be position number 3, and that could have championship implications. And Kurt Stenberg, he comes home P4, but
Riley Blythe, he's just going to hold on for P number 5 there with a very good battle that they've been having for several laps with Ethan Warren, and Brady Myers is going to follow them up. Scott Cieslewski is going to hold that position from Matt Morris for P8. Matt comes home for P9. Thomas is going to round out your top 10. Then we've got Loxton, Baker, Highland, and Vlasic and Neck coming over for the next 5 positions. Wow, what a race.
Yep, was a good one indeed. And of course, still a few drivers coming across the line, but they're all a little bit spread out. So we will begin to run through your race order. And what a race it was indeed, with Dane Warren coming out on top, just about the only clean car in the entire field, and just behind Wayne Burke and Marlon McMullen, who of course are involved in one heck of a scrap for second place, but unfortunately for McMullen, just could not get the job done, even though he definitely tried. Stenberg gets P4, bit of a lonely P4 for him. Riley Blythe comes home in P5, only just ahead of Ethan Warren and Brady Myers. What a fight that was. And let's not forget Cieslewski and Morris with a great fight as well, with Thomas Hinz rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, then we've got Brett Loxton taking out P number 11, followed up by Zach Baker, Adam Highland, and Mario Vlasic, and Blake Neck, all in very quick succession there to round out your top 15. Corey Preston working his way back through the field relatively well after an early incident. He'll take home 16th position. Michael Hammond and Jason Bentz, I believe those two guys, teammates, taking out positions 17 and 18 there. And Luke Harvey, after starting in, 6th position, working his way up to 4th, having that incident midway through the race all by himself and coming home in P19. Daniel Williams will come home in P20 after overtaking Jamie McKnight for 21st position in the late stages of the race. We have Greg Sharp, Cooper Webster, and Calvin Fuerdent, who your final finishes on the lead lap. Then we had Sergio Corredera, pardon me, Sergio, Brian Borg and Craig Jones. Brian Borg and Craig Jones not finishing the race. Sergio just finishing a lap down. But yeah, big drama on the final lap. Marlon McMullen and Wayne Burke coming together. I'm going to have to go back and look at that again, because that was a pretty spectacular finish. I think that Marlon was just getting a little desperate coming into 10A there. Very, very heavy on the brakes and just locking up the rears a tiny bit. But he did have good mid-corner speed through 10B and just tried to fire it up the inside. It's a little difficult to say whether Wayne kind of saw him coming. I suspect, looking at his onboard view, it wasn't much of a gap to be going for, but I mean, it was enough of a gap on the last lap, I guess. But Wayne, very nice job, very quick with the reflexes to catch that car and to bring it over the line for P2.
Yep, and there's more than one tempers being flared in the driver's chat. It's definitely a bit of a hot-headed race, this one, unfortunately, but nonetheless, the winners have been crowned, and it's been a fantastic result for those that did manage to finish, but unfortunately not everyone did. Only 25 out of the 27 did make the checkered flag, but wow, what a finale we do have set up heading into the final race next week. But before then, on Tuesday the 27th, the Down Under Graphics Sprint Cars Summer Series, that's going to be taking place, and that is going to be awesome. We've seen some great fights in the A mains in that series, so hopefully we can get some more awesome battles in that. On Wednesday the 28th, the Oceanic Sprint Championship here on VX Online, that's going to be taking place at a very, very cloudy Silverstone International Circuit. So lots of high-speed natured cars are going to do very, very well, But who's going to come out on top is yet to be decided. And who's going to come out on top of the Monday night official V8 Supercar Series, that's going to be what happens on next Monday. It's the final round. Will it be Warren or will it be McMullen? We'll have to wait and find out. But until then, thanks for watching, guys, and goodbye.